Hey there, students. This is Mr. Boyd. Today's lesson is on solving quadratic equations by taking square roots. So consider the following quadratic equation: 2x squared minus 36 equals 0. When quadratic equations are in the form of ax squared plus c equals 0, solve them by taking the square root. So step 1, isolate the variable or expression that is squared. Step 2, take the square root of both sides of the equation. Don't forget the negative root. And step 3, if necessary, solve the remaining equation. A note on square roots. Every square root has both a positive and a negative square root. Here's an example. The square root of 25 is 5 or negative 5 because 5 times 5 is 25 and negative 5 times negative 5 is 25. A common way to write this is plus or minus 5. Okay guys, take some time, copy this down in your notes. Please pause the video so that the students have time to copy this down in their notes. Okay students, so let's take a look at example 1 down here. Again, we have 2x squared minus 36 equals 0. So the first thing we want to do is isolate this x squared term. So to do that, as always, I'm going to add 36 first. Always do the inverse operation to solve equations. Then I'll divide by 2. So now x squared equals 18. And then the last step is to take the square root of each side. So I'll take the square root of x squared, take the square root of 18. Next, I'll open up my calculator. And this button right here on your calculator is your square root button. Now notice it only gives me the positive square root. I have to know that there's a negative square root as well. So let's round this off to 2 decimal places. So x equals 4.24. So x equals plus or minus, positive or negative, 4.24. And that's all there is to solving by square roots, guys. So let's take a look at a couple more examples to make sure you have this. So example 2 is 4x squared minus 100 equals 0. Again, I'm going to isolate the squared term by adding 100 to both sides. That cancels that out, leaves me 4x squared equals 100. Next, I'll divide by 4. So now I've got x squared equals 25. Last step, take the square root of both sides, and x equals plus or minus 5. Okay guys, let's take a look at our last example down here. Notice it's a bit more involved, but the process is still the same. To begin with, we're going to isolate this squared expression. So here I'm going to add 48 again. So I've got 2 times x plus 7 squared equals 48. Okay. Next, I need to get rid of this multiplication by 2 right here. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2. That's going to give me x plus 7 squared equals 24. So the next step is to take the square root of both sides. So let me open up my calculator down here again and put in 24 and take the square root of that, and I see that that is 4.89, which actually rounds off to 4.9. So let me close my calculator. I think I want blue for this one. So now I've got x plus 7. When I take the square root, it cancels out that squared, equals 4.9. Now I'm going to finish solving this equation by subtracting 7. Plus or minus 4.9. So the next step is to subtract 7 from both sides. So x equals negative 7 plus or minus 4.9. Now you might not be familiar with that, but what we're actually going to do is end up solving two problems down here. We'll have negative 7 plus 4.9 for one answer, or negative 7 minus 4.9 for the second answer, second solution. So negative 7 plus 4.9, let's see, what is that? Open up our calculator again. I've got 7 negative plus 4.9, and that gives me negative 2.1. So I see the first solution is negative 2.1, or my next solution would be negative 7 minus 4.9. I see those are both the same sign, so I'm going to add them together. So my second solution is actually negative 11.9. So if I write my solution set, which I should have done for the last two examples, it would be negative 11.9 and negative 2.1. So students, that concludes our video for this lesson. You should be getting a worksheet